Hello everyone, I'd like to showcase how to use Radix and get us started with that one since it's an opinionated theme on Drupal, and I'll try to be quick and let's follow up and start with the README. Okay, so it says that we need components module, so if you don't know what that is, please read about that. And okay, let's start. Composer required Drupal components. I already have that, I suppose. Well, it was updated, that's fine, let's update it. And then it says download and enable Radix. I already have that, so that's fine. And then it says enable Radix. Okay, let's enable the theme. And then it says creating a subtheme. Okay, we copy paste the code here. Let's rename the subtheme name to, let's say, I don't know, my theme. And head over here. And by the way, note that the path here includes the web directory. If you are within the web directory, note that you have to drop that port. Anyways, okay, now that I've done that, if I go to, let's say, Radix with themes, be under custom, if I check it out, I have my theme right there. So if I go to my theme, let's follow that. Okay, it says enable the theme that we just created. Let's say my theme, and then it says, okay, let's set it as the default theme. Let's copy it and let's call it my theme. Copy paste it. So this just makes the my theme that we just created as the default theme for the website. Let's change our directory to the subtheme we just created, and then we have to run npm install. You can always check your node version, that you're running. Let's run npm install. Might take a while, and then see what else do we have. Okay, while it's installing, we can check the rest. Okay, let's open a new directory again. Open again VS Code. Okay, if you look at it here, we might have a file called proxy.js under the config and a proxy.example.js. So, okay, what it says on the document is to copy the proxy.example to proxy.js, which we can do that like so. Within the theme, we run it and then update the proxy variable. Okay, let's bring this up. My Radix URL locally is radix.loc. I'm gonna hit save, see if the npm is installed, not yet. Okay, and then after the installation is done, we can run npm run watch. Okay, while we're waiting for the npm packages to be installed, let's go through the instruction, some instruction and the whole theme structure. So we can always skip the config directory, it's not important. Once you set up the proxy.js file, you're good to go. We can ignore it afterwards. The includes directory includes all of your preprocessed functions, and it's broken down into different files like block for the blocks only, comments, content field, and whatnot. So you can always create another new file, and then use that one if you want. And it's like the my theme.theme file that we always used to have, in all the Drupal themes. But as you can see here, we are including all of the inc files and loading it in the .theme file. So it's easier to manage, it's easier to work with. So yeah, it sounds better to do it that way. So if you want to, I don't know, override something in the block, yeah, just go ahead and write it here. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. You can always go to the .theme file and do it there, but don't. So just keep it clean. And okay, besides include our node modules, is our node modules that we are installing at the moment. You never really have to work with this one unless you want to check something, I don't know, like going to the Bootstrap, check the variable file or something like that. Everything that we are going to work with is going to be under RC directory, so source directory here. So assets, we have different assets that we have on a website, like fonts. So if you have a font you want to load locally, you can just add it here. If you have icons, we separated the icons and images here, and it's easier to maintain a website if you want to an icon or an image. So it's separated, doesn't matter where you put it. And a videos directory, so usually not gonna be used much unless we have static videos to be loaded. And then under components are our components. which, well, as a test, we only have a block component under our subtheme. Okay, and the README, you can read, I don't know, check the READMEs throughout the folders and see how we can use each of these directories. So it's a little bit explained here. Sorry if it's not fully documented, but along the way we will also hopefully one day have documentation about this. And we have JavaScript files, all of our JavaScript files that are not related to our components. For instance, if you have a block component and there's a JavaScript file for that, like a console log here, it should go to the component folder and not here in the JS directory. Our main script file, anything that should be in the main, like all of your includes, everything that you want to import, can go into the main. Even if there's something that you want to run globally, it's best to see if it fits into a component like a page component, or a layout component, and use it there. Otherwise, these should be untouched. And all of our Bootstrap files, everything that Bootstrap ships with, is loading here under the bootstrap.js file. In the ideal world, you want to I don't know, comment out any of these files that you don't need, like I don't want a carousel, so I'm just gonna comment it out. So, or my collapse or dropdown or anything, so it doesn't kill your process or website, load unnecessary file, we can just comment it out. And under the SASS directory, we have our base, so our elements, our functions, everything that is separated can be defined here. If you have global mixins, that you want to use, define it here. If you have your typography, just use this file. It's best to separate it based on the use case. Utilities goes here. This one is a custom utility that we added based on our use cases on Radix. So check it out. And as you can see, there's a comment that calls the background and text utility classes based on colors. You like this one. VG-pine green or something you might want to have. And our main file would be our variables. So you can copy paste anything off of the Bootstrap variables. Like let's click on this one. So this is the default Bootstrap variable files. You can also definitely find it in the node modules. If you go ahead and find Bootstrap, let's see, where is it? Bootstrap. Okay, the Bootstrap files, SASS files. Here are all the SASS files, JS, everything, helpers, mixing, utilities, everything that Bootstrap has. So the variables are here. We can go ahead, some people just copy paste this whole thing, and let's keep this open. And also open our own variable file and paste it here. You can overwrite this. I don't personally like it. It's too much. As I mentioned before, it's opinionated, so do as you feel pleased. And you can start editing here. That would be initially ideal. And while you're editing, you see, note the default flag here at the end of each of these. So this means this is the default value defined by Bootstrap. If you want to change it, if our white is going to be F0, 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 you have to get rid of the default flag. So, this is your change, and well, this is how you define it. Anyways, change everything that you want, and then some people just went on and delete what's not needed here, or if you know your variable names, and I don't know, you always keep an eye on the main variable file, just keep what you need. Just copy over what you need. For instance, you want to change the yellow, or I don't know, going to colors here. Anyway, if you want to change the spacers, just copy it over, adjust it here, and call it a day. So that's ideal. So if, for instance, on the example, if you want to have the body BG color change, just go ahead and do that. Body color, also change that. So you're gonna be working a lot in the variable file. So moving on, outside of the base directory, under the Bootstrap SASS files, there's a lot of stuff here, a lot of CSS and Bootstrap related stuff that you might not need, like for instance, if you don't need the tables or the forms or even the buttons, transitions, dropdown, just please comment it out. So comment it out and keep working and keep what you need. So no need to always load everything that Bootstrap offers. And yeah, the rest of the files, and we have an additional custom code that we are loading everything in base like mixing functions, helpers, elements, and typography. Okay, that aside, we also have an important file called init as in initial. So this is what we usually always need, and each file in our components directory always need to load this file. If we go ahead in our source directory and look into components block directory block.sas, we see that it starts with an import of the init folder. You don't need to have the underscore in the first initially to load it, so you can drop that. Make sure always add this, and when I say like, I don't know, body, I don't know, background color, I don't know, red, this red is being loaded because of the init directory. Init file actually. So init file in itself is loading my base variables on the top, functions on the, off of Bootstrap, variables, maps, mixing of my own, and the utilities of my own. Moving on, using the RFS function, for your responsive stuff, you can. It's optional as mentioned here. You can comment it out as well. So this is always necessary to have it loaded. Okay, our main.style file here. So let's do our changes. Our main file, that's our main.style.sass file. By the way, note the naming convention, like a main.style.sass, some can call it main.sass, it doesn't matter. So this is how Bootstrap, well, Radix is at the moment. We also have a main.script.js. So these are serving the same idea. Anyways, this is loading all the Bootstrap files that we're having. If you click on it, you see that, well, all of the Bootstrap are being loaded. Moving on, we have our navbar forum of Kansas being loaded off of Radix. So these files sometimes it happened to me as well, that on a CI/CD approach, sometimes you run different commands before different commands, and this might fail. And if that's the case for you, you're running, I don't know, Circle CI or something similar, you can move these files into your own theme and get away from if there is any error, but shouldn't be. You might want to actually fix your task being run on your CI/CD anyways. But yeah, anyways, moving on. We have templates, so all of Drupal templates is going to be here. So if you have anything like, I don't know, comment.html.a, media, node.html, page title, I don't know, the table, our table is here. And if you look at these files, for instance, table, everything is being loaded off of Radix. So we are using the components module that we initially installed, and using that, it's loading the Radix namespace and goes to the table and loads the table tree. Okay, what happens if I want to adjust this one? For instance, let's say that I actually want to change my table. I want to override it for some reason anyways. Let's go to our country directory. Our Radix is here, and let's open it up actually in another VS Code file. Let's go almost maximize. Let's close everything. Okay, this is our Radix theme. It's on 5.06, I believe. And here under the source, we have components. And here on the components, we must have a table. Okay, table and the table.tree. This is the file being called off here. So it goes into the Radix, and this directory goes to the exactly here to the table.tree file and reads this one. So if I want to change that, one thing I could do is to just go here, that I usually do, is to copy this directory if I want to override it and go to my theme. Let's open up a new, okay, let's open a new window and okay, go to my theme under the source components and paste it here. Okay, now I have a table. If I go to my source, here on my VS Code, under the source components, I now have a table directory with table tweak. So here I can add a new file, call it table.sass. I can also have my JS file, table.js. By the way, note on my SASS, if I want to make sure that it works, I need to, as I did on the, well, not block, but the JS file, but on the CSS side of things, I need to make sure that I import the init file. So I have a new table that says I import it, hit save, and then I start writing my own custom CSS. So if you want to do anything, just go ahead and do it here. So it's a new component that I have. We don't adhere to the naming convention of atomic design. We don't have the molecule as atoms and stuff like that. You can do so if you want. It's not really compulsory to follow this structure. You can have your atoms and everything. But since Drupal is not always a big project, and some of the clients might have a smaller project, you don't necessarily need to complex the whole scenario and make things harder for yourself. But if you're used to that, follow that along. A lot of themes, I know that they were using that naming convention already. Anyways, here's my JS file. Also can start writing just vanilla JavaScript. It would work. It's a table. And here in my table.html.twig file, now that I want to load my own table.twig file, instead of Radix, I need to mention my theme name, namespace would be my theme, table.tabletwig. And whilst I actually, the reason that I need to clear my cache, let's say, by the way, install all of the npm packages, that's fine. Let's go here under CR. We need to clear the cache because we adjusted the, we didn't actually need to clear the cache, but it's always safe to do so. And here, I don't know, right, background color red, hit save, here console log, save. Unfortunately, we don't have a table, so I can show you. Anyways, this is how you do it. This is how you override a piece of code of Radix. So you always adhere and copy paste over what Radix already provides. So if you continue along the templates file for the field, we already have this. So you can also, there are some use cases like, I don't know, let's say title. Do I have the title? Let's find it up. Title will take. Yeah, on the page title.html, we are loading the Radix title.twig file. So if I go here and open up the title.twig component, we have some options that we can override, whether it's a page title or if it's a link, and we have that, like, I don't know, utility classes for title link classes. You can always extend it, with, let's say, title utility classes, and you can pass an array here, and call it title red title. Not sure why I'm keen on red today, but yeah, you can do so as well. But if you want to override too much, and note if there are, actually we don't have a block here, do we? No, we can have something like a piece of block code here, that calls title content, and then our own main content is within this. You can override the title, so you can copy paste a block, paste it here, and you can use extends, or you can use embed and make sure to end embed here, so you can override the title, and instead of title you can say, I don't know, h1 title, and then it's overridden. You don't necessarily every time need to copy paste and use it on your own theme. But there's a downside to this. If eventually Radix changes the title.twig file and you update your own Radix file, I don't know, a year or two, and it's a major change or something, you might not remember and break your UI, so it's not always bad idea to copy paste over what you want to adjust. So that's it. That's also a possible way to do so. Anyways, let's revert these back to how it was, and let's get to how we can use our theme and start building. So first off, let's zoom in a little bit. We have a nvm rc file which offers a proper Node version that we know that works. It definitely can work with 14, 13, or whatever other version of Node you have, and I know that it works with 18. So you can always start with nvm use. If you have nvm, if you don't, look it up, and it's nice to know what it does, and it's really great for Node version management. So what it does, it's just switched to the version that it mentions in the file, in the mbmrc file, and now I'm using the correct version. If I, for any reason, let's open it up actually, .mbmrc, I don't have, let's say, 16.3, 16.15.3, I say in mmuse, it says that I don't have this version, and I can install it with mm install this, and it will have it locally set up on my machine, so I'll have it always with on my machine, so I can use it again. Okay. All right. So npm install, npm use we already did. Let's npm use again. So we switch back, and then if we want to run code, well, we have to check our package.json file and see what we have here. We have dev, watch, stylint fix, watch poll, hot, production. All of these commands and post install, we can ignore it. It will run when the installation is done. So what we want is dev usually, or watch. And for production, we run production. And note the mix. The mix is because we are, let's bring up our browser. We're using Laravel mix. So it's a bundler and helps us it's a wrapper on Webpacker, it's a better way to put it. It uses Webpack under the hood, but it makes life easier for us to work with and easier to adjust. There's a lot of extensions and packages that you can use with it that we are using on, well, Radix as well. So it's good, for instance, Laravel Mix copy watch. This is a package dependency of Laravel Mix style lint, all of these Laravel Mix stuff packages are related to that one. So these are the comments. I mean, not just this, any JavaScript project usually have a script in their package.json file. All of these are the commands you might run. So what we want is the command watch. So if I run npm run watch, what it does, it actually runs mix watch, and uses Laravel mix. So it watches my file and it's good for development. It builds my file first, and then loads up a localhost 3000 based on the proxy.js style file that let's see, on the proxy.js file. This is wrong actually. I have to make it look better. Messed up. Okay, let's run it again. It uses browser sync to proxy this URL. Okay, that's the wrong one. Make sure to open this up so it loads the correct one. Yeah, okay. This is my website now. So this is the theme we just built, and this is how it looks. You can log in, of course, and let's go to radix.log, my logged in user, and go to appearance. And my theme is the active theme here. So, okay. Heading back, let's continue. What I did by running npm run watch, it also, we have some issues to fix anyways, out of the box. And this is all of these errors because of the style length. So we'll get to that part as well. But this also built my assets. So what it does, there's a new folder called build now. All of the assets that I had is now built on the components under the, we have, it mirrors, but it actually is the build version. So my blog.css, my blog.js, as you can see, since it's a dev running, I'm running npm run watch, which is a dev iteration. Anyways, this is why we have comments. If I run npm run production, we will have a minified version of the JS file and there's no comments in it. There's no need for debugging. So anyways, and also my table file and my mapping my map file, which is going to be quite handy while developing my JS file, and the map file for my JS file as well. Anyways, as you can see, here's the console log that I wrote, and on my CSS, here's the background color red. And this works just fine, but for instance, I created my table.css file, SASS file, and JS file, and it should load, So how does Drupal handle that? By default, on Drupal, we use attach library to attach things by running my theme, the name of my theme, and then the name of, and then this is where we actually need to run to our CR because we are attaching new libraries. So you might ask, you didn't define a table library. So if you go and look at the our my theme libraries file, there is no table library. So if you note here the comments, it says that we create component libraries automatically. No need to be listed here. You can of course go ahead and let's see. Say, yeah, I have a table and here's the CSS on the theme level. We have, I don't know, build, and you never actually refer to the source directory. Here we only want our build assets. So under build, components, if I can type it, component table, we can have table.css file, and that's it. And your JS is the same, but you don't need this at the moment because it says as long as they keep the same name for the folder, JS, and the CSS file. So you may extend the libraries if necessary. For instance, if I want to keep it, I can just extend it, override it. If I want to actually write it down, I can do so. But for the ease of use, we are using that. For more information, you can see the theme.inc file. So let's look it up. Okay, as you can see, this is the actual magic. So this library info build actually does all of this. As long as, let's say, my table here, the folder is called table, the JS file is called table, and also the SASS file. So I cannot have table but something else. So if I have something like this, I have to actually create a library and then attach that one. But as long as it's table, and, well, the rest of the folder and everything else is table, we are fine. So I also included this one, so this will load. Also, you can attach your library within your component, which is fine. But sometimes for some reason in some use cases you might have extra libraries you might want to consider adding, so you can actually add it to the HTML tag file as well. So you can add it here, so that would be fine. And yeah, but I prefer and suggest keeping everything within the component so you can copy paste it over to your next project and that would be fine. Yeah, okay, moving on. I believe we have covered the templates, and okay, there's a translation folder. This is barely used. It's really good functionality. It's really helpful. It's worth looking into the README file. You can have, let's see, if you want to have a French or Dutch or Norwegian, you can have the proper code of the language, like FR for French, D for Dutch, and the rest. Like for instance, nb.po. This is a test, open access, and yeah, this is the Norwegian version, and this is how you write it down. So anything, let's say on my table, I want to actually say something like, I don't know, let's go here and type something. I'm gonna say this is a test, and then write it like so. Everything that you write down practically in your tweak files should also reflect in your, and which is a translation if it's needed. So it should be reflected in your translation file as well. So if the message ID would be this is a test, my message string would be the translation. Let's call it Norwegian translation. I don't know Norwegian that well enough. Anyway, this is how it would be. And let's save it. And how would we use this? Simply having a nb.po file. So if you actually look at the info file of the theme, we have a new thing called interface translation project. You define it, say that which translation interface it needs to use. That would be our theme. And if there's a pattern for it, so anything, any language.po file would be included. So I can have a np.po file. I can also create a new file call it fr.po file and start, I don't know, writing French translation here. So all of these would be used. If I continue looking at the readme file, it says this is how you do it. This is the magic of Drush. So you can run Drush local check. It would check if there's any new strings added so they can translate it. And Drush local update local update actually runs the import of the translation you added. So you are keeping things to your code base instead of actually going through the UI of Drupal and translating things there. Anyways, moving on, and our browsers list RC, you can ignore it. This is just browsers that Radix supports. Our git ignore, anything that you want to git ignore besides the default one, you can add it here. This is only limited to your theme. It's not your own Drupal git ignore, as you know. npm-rc, you can ignore. npm-rc we talked about. Stylent ignore. These are the folders and directories that we will ignore for our stylent. And the main file is stylentrc.json. So we are using a package called stylent config standard SASS. So this package is somewhat a convention that people standardized on, and then there are rules upon that. So you are extending this one. So if you want to actually look it up, you can actually go ahead and look it up. Yeah. This just search it and read through it. So actually the GitHub is the better one. Read through it and see what it's all about. Anyways, let's head back here. These are the rules. For instance, at rule name should be lower. Always there's a need for a space after a single line, and so on and so forth. So that's why if you save, these errors appear. So unexpected missing end of source new line. So on a newly created table.sass file, you need a end of line space. So if I save that, the error is gone now. These are the remaining error. You can fix these as well. So double quotes being used, this is coming from the stylentrc file that we just looked at. So moving on, that's not important that much. So we are moving on. The logo file, here's the theme logo file. Always use a 3G, hopefully. So the one thing that I also do is create a component for my logo, let's say, and then you can make it with tweak, you can make it conditional, so you can easily change the color of a logo and include it and so on and so forth, but that's not really part of this presentation, I believe. And the breakpoints. So if you are using, let's say, responsive images module, so this is how your theme, this is not correct, by the way. Instead of default, it should be my theme. So anyways, I'll have that fixed hopefully soon. And these are the defined breakpoints that are being used in Bootstrap. So we are mirroring that. And we have two multipliers, 1x and 2x, so for high density and low density. So it's best not to go crazy over breakpoints because of the performance reasons. But yeah, this is where you can define or adjust and change your theme breakpoints. And the .info file, nothing fancy about it here. This is the library that is always being loaded, the main style library. If you look at the libraries file, this is the one. So it comes with the main style and main.script with the dependency defined here. At some point, we probably have to drop the jQuery, but that's in the future. And CK editor style sheet is also being applied to the CK editor here, our main style file. And this is then, defining your namespaces. So my theme here, this is how it's being done, and uses the components module to achieve that. And these are the regions by default, that's fine. Okay, moving on, our package.json file, package log file is not important. The packages you install, package.json file, any packages you might need, you can install it with npm or yarn or any other package managers you have, and it would show up here. Make sure it's correctly defined as a dev dependency or main dependency. And the main theme screenshot file, you can override it, change it to whatever your website look like. And our other important file is webpack.mix.js. This is what runs our Laravel mix. This is what's watching our files and building it and bundling it, and everything else that we want to do. So this is uses mix, so it provides a clean, fluent API for defining the pack builds. So we define our proxy.js files. We are requiring it here. This is our mix, the glove, and every packages that are being used. This is how all of the configuration sits. This is where it sits. So you can change along with it. So for instance, on the browser things, we are watching anything under the build directory, like under the JS, CSS components, and also the source, anything the twig file. So if you, let's say, save, let's head back here, like look at this one. If I save this one, this hot reloads my browser sync my page. So because even though it's a twig file, because we're watching it under the mix that we defined here as anything the twig file, that's why it hot reloads. So anyways, moving on, this is everything else not important, and these are the directories that are we're using the copy directory watched package, which actually watches any packages, directory and copies or modifies as you wish. And what it does, it actually copies one by one from your source directory into your assets directory. As I mentioned, everything we're loading is within the assets, our build directory. So what it means is if we look at this, we have the assets directory, all of the main website assets like font, icons, images, videos, everything sits here. So if and we are not doing any optimizations, there's a lot of packages, and it's up to you guys to decide if you want an optimizer, or something that adjusts your icon, your videos, everything. So you can go ahead and install that. But if you, for instance, have an image that you want to load in your hero of the front page, you can go ahead and copy and paste it into your image directory here, and it will automatically copy it into build assets here, build assets images. Since we don't have any, there's no folder created yet. So all of these, like your images, icons, videos, and fonts, will be one-on-one copy and pasted into the build directory. So the build directory, on the other hand, we didn't really, we had to actually remove it from the git ignore. By default, it is git ignored. So we can add it here, your git ignore, because this can be handled by your build process, your CI/CD process, and you don't necessarily need it. Or locally, anyone else working on the project, they can pull and build the project, and they will get their own build directory. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of conflicts, and you have to have more headache along the way to fix the issues that you might have. Anyways, you can also make sure to ignore the build directory, and everything that you might need can be loaded from there. Okay, we are running out of time, I believe, but that must be the gist of how to use Radix. Hope you guys see and enjoy this, and let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, thank you.